it was a massive Zack Snyder Snyderverse reveal all day today. Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix. My name is Chris Wong. Like I said, it's all Zack Snyder. First, we're going to talk about Army of the Dead, then Rebel Moon, then his thoughts on a Justice League 2. Now, Zack Snyder released Army of the Dead on Netflix earlier this year, and it was phenomenal. I loved it. Surprisingly, it was more than just a zombie heist movie. There's actually some sci-fi elements, high concept ideas, time loop theory. There was a lot to consume in that one movie. And of course, it's going to branch off into multiple spin-offs, prequels, and an eventual sequel. But because of Army of Thieves is right around the corner, Zack Snyder talked a little bit about the mythology of Army of the Dead. Speaking to Inverse, Total Film, and all these other sites, this is what he said. "I'm a huge fan of this mythological understory," he says, going on to mention the backstory of the safes seen in both Army of the Dead and its prequel, as well as Bly Tanaka, Hideyuki Sanada's villainous character. All your time loop fun that you can have. There's a lot of cool enhancements that are baked in now. Snyder adds, "I can't wait to make the sequel to Army of the Dead so that we can see how then all of those things manifest." And all that teasing and snippets and wondering what is the actual understory of this whole thing, we all know it's going to end up being revealed as we progress through the different movies. And he actually just reveals the title of the next Army of the Dead in this interview with Inverse. He talks a little bit about Dieter, who is the star of Army of Thieves. Did he or did he not die in Army of the Dead? But the real adventure would be to see what happened to him when that safe door closed. Did he get killed by Zeus or not? What happened? We don't see him die on camera, and there's still some time left. I won't tell you what happens in Army of the Dead 2, also known as Planet of the Dead, but let's just say that there's a chance Dieter survives, and there's a chance that brush with death would have caused him to want to find a jailed... Oh, wait a minute, that may have been a spoiler because I haven't seen the movie yet. But the fact that he said it right there, it's called Planet of the Dead. How freaking epic is that? Just the wording, Planet of the Dead. You know it's going to be a much global proportion level event, and it's going to be a big movie. Who survives? Who's going to be in this movie? What type of movie is it going to be? Is it going to be a little bit of that zombie heist movie in Army of the Dead, or are we going to something much bigger? But like I said, we still got Army of Thieves, we got the prequel to Army of the Dead, animated prequel to Army of the Dead, and then maybe after that, we will finally get Planet of the Dead. Speaking of planets, let's talk about Rebel Moon. Now, this is the one Snyderverse that I'm really looking forward to, because this is him tapping into his own original sci-fi IPs, not based on anything. It's really him creating his own science fiction based world. It kind of all started off with that Star Wars idea he had back then that was kind of like a loose adaptation of his own Seven Samurai, and I've done videos on this when you're combining Star Wars and Seven Samurai. Yes please. But are there any new updates for Rebel Moon? We're just plugging away. It's so huge and so crazy, but really exciting, and I'm super excited as we get closer to sharing some art and casting, because it's all starting to come together. Did he just say casting? I didn't know he already cast some people in this movie already. And I'm really eager to see some concept art, trying to figure out what exactly does your Rebel Moon, your sci-fi world, is going to look like. Frankly, what I'm really interested in with Rebel Moon is creating a romantic sci-fi film on a scale that is frankly as big as you can make a movie, Snyder told Bro Bible's post-credit podcast. "I've never done a science fiction film at this scale. The beginning of Man of Steel on Krypton has pretty big sci-fi elements, but it's still Krypton, and there are certain iconographic things that you have to do. And that's kind of what we're doing in Rebel Moon, but on the biggest steroids I can give it." Oh my god, why didn't I think of that? That's right, he actually tapped into a little bit of that sci-fi in Man of Steel. The technology, the world building you see there, the creatures in that opening sequence for Man of Steel, it's amazing. Now imagine a full-on universe of movies that are based upon that idea. that look. Like, not only is Zack going to have his own Star Wars universe, he's going to have his own Dune universe. And you can tell from his words, he is going all in. It's a culmination of my love of mythology and my love of giant movies and action and really just epic cinema to do something that satisfies my love of science fiction motion picture, Snyder said. And with Netflix, you know, there is like absolutely no restriction there. He's able to craft whatever world, whatever universe, any stories he wants to make. I cannot wait to see how vast, how big, and the characters, the art, everything of Rebel Moon. Let's talk about Snyderverse and Justice League 2. Now, we're still hoping that Warner Brothers will eventually restore the Snyderverse, but at this point in time, like I've said many times before, it doesn't look like they're going to do that yet, especially with certain execs that are in Warner Media right now. Currently, our only hope at this point is that Discovery comes in and does something about it. But in the meantime, Zack Snyder is just going to do what Zack Snyder wants to do and can do. And with a partnership with Netflix, he's definitely going to be able to create whatever he wants. So the Inverse interviewer asked a little bit about the Snyderverse. At this point, do you consider the Snyderverse to be the DC movies or this Army universe that you're developing now? I would hope that anything Snyderversian is whatever we're doing as original IP. The DC universe is something that's very close to my heart and something I spent a lot of time developing and thinking about, so I love it. But where I am right now is with the Rebel Moon of it all and the Army of the Dead of it all. They're very much consuming our creative output. Hopefully, just anything that we're doing that's original and cool would fit into that category. In a way, he kind of tossed out Snyderverse to be anything to do with DC. He's saying that Snyderverse is really anything original IP that he creates. And DC is an IP that Warner Brothers owns. So he's very much saying he's taking a step back from that all. I mean, he's not even allowed to do any of that anyway. And he's just going to be working with Netflix on his original IPs that he considers the Snyderverse. But of course, they had to ask, what about Justice League 2? How does he feel if someone else directs Justice League 2? His Justice League 2. Oh gosh, I wouldn't have thought of that, Snyder says. Listen, I loved making all those DC movies, and I love superheroes, and I love the genre. I'm very excited to see Matt Reeves' Batman movie, The Batman, so that's exciting. Something like that, though, I'm not sure. Suffice to say, he's probably not okay with someone coming in to direct his story, though those stories could definitely be in the ownership of DC. And I think if Warner Brothers is going to go ahead with a new Justice League film, it's definitely not going to have him in it. Though, if it's still the characters that he created from his movies and Justice League, Zack Snyder will probably get an executive producer credit out of the deal. I also noticed that he only brings up The Batman as the one movie he's looking forward to. And I gotta agree, out of all the DC movies, The Batman is the best looking one. Does this mean that there's going to not be a Zack Snyder's Justice League 2? Well, like I said before, not right now. There's really no plan, nothing to that right now. Warner Bros. Definitely doesn't want him back into DC anytime soon. So Zack Snyder's gonna do what Zack Snyder's gonna do. He's gonna make more movies, he's gonna direct more movies. That's what he lives for. And right now, the only company that's allowing him to do that is Netflix. So I'm already all in on all those Snyderverses that Zack Snyder is producing on Netflix, and I can't wait to see how far they will go.